Hi, my name is Travis Lindsay, and I am here for the Conrey Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State Fullerton. And with me today is one of our alumni and actually current students as well, right, Michael?
That's correct. In the master's program.
Very cool. Could you give us a little bit of your bio?
Yeah. What's up, guys? My name is Michael Butorac, and on social and in the art world, I go by Mike the Mollusk. I was at Cal State Fullerton for my undergrad. That's where I got my start. I majored in marketing in the College of Business. And then after that, I pursued a international marketing degree with the MBA program. So it's more marketing of different countries, looking at how those markets run, what gets them excited, and what gets them mad. We study a little bit of everything, and uh, I've had a really great time working with different artists and different professors, different administrators, as I've been going through Fullerton and kind of growing my career beyond. The Mollusk is my marketing agency where I do branding for other businesses, and I just enjoy working with people in whatever small or big capacity. If we can create things, motivate things, and innovate along the way, then I think that builds better communities and hopefully a better tomorrow.
So why Mike the Mollusk? There's a lot of animals out there. I don't know how many. I mean, there's got to be at least a few dozen. Why the
Mhm.
mollusk?
Yeah, so when I was on a field trip, I got bit by a radioactive octopus. No, I'm just kidding.
So
I'm
you're a
just kidding.
superhero then, right?
Maybe a villain. I don't know. Like the good designers, but
Right.
I'm
Okay,
good,
so
evil.
this is going to be interesting. At some point, there's going to be a group of superheroes that come in through the background, crash through that wonderful library that you are in, and they're going to arrest you. And then I'll have to, vamp and try to figure out, how to keep this going.
I've been on the run from the piranha people for 7 years. Oh, the mollusk ended up being it was a metaphor from my undergrad thesis. In the honors program, you have to do your senior honors thesis, and I found that through my business program, studying marketing, I always grappled with, institutional correctness through business because there's a practice and a linear way of doing things. And then the art world, studying design and kind of what's at the forefront of the marketing industry is always kind of a rule breaker or a rule bender. And so combining those two elements and saying how much of an art is business and how much business is there in art, and how can I find the dichotomy and merge the dichotomy between the two so that I don't strictly belong to one group and I don't strictly belong to the other, but I can bring those two peoples together and make things that represent both. Um, that was kind of the basis of my thesis, and I did some exploration there, and I got to travel through the university, and I basically decided like I'm not a fish, I'm an octopus because those eight tentacles have different brains, and one of them's in video, one of them's in design, the other's in marketing. There's one that's in philosophy, and I like dabbling in a little bit of everything. And there's other traits of the octopus like it's a escape artist, so it can fit through anything. I think when it comes to, you know, when push comes to shove, I can, escape and I can find different ways to get through different challenges, but I can also blend in and change my appearance if I need to so that I can blend in and, make things happen that way.
Yeah, that's something I noticed, looking through your bio on LinkedIn. So you're an entrepreneur, storyteller, marketer, producer. Uh, if you had to pick one thread that really ties all of that together, what would that be?
Ooh. I would say marketing is probably the the umbrella that would tie it all together because it's that actually no because it is the umbrella, but if I had to be more specific, I think I would say it's how I like to be a designer in different senses because there's designing, sketching, there's that process to it. There's taking things to digital, but then there's also with community senses, designing events, designing relationships. And I guess it's just that preparation period where you get something ready to launch and you just have the trust and the faith in the team to help launch it for you. So it's to kind of have that vision so that people can take it forward and push behind it. I think designer is my favorite because that's where the most the most authenticity comes from, and where the vision is the most pure before it gets lost in the campaign or before the world gets its hands on it. It's still on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I really noticed about you is that community is very important, and you're bringing all these different interdisciplinary, if I could, talk right, thinking together to really promote that. I think I saw that you did you rent out a, theater recently and hosted a screening of what movie was it?
That was for the Fantastic Four. Yeah, I dressed up as Doctor Doom and took over a theater.
Tell me a little bit about that and how all this, your interdisciplinary thinking, your community focus really shapes your creative process.
I would say I had a call with a mentor, and the way that I like to describe it is you have that horizontal movement, and then you have the vertical and the horizontal. And I think when you're growing as a creative person, or when we're pursuing these things, we try to climb the ladder, and we try to, you know, climb up as high as we can, whether it's position wise or project, and we try to find the biggest companies to work with. And that's all great. But I think the basis is kind of like a trampoline that shoots you right back up for when you fall. And it's having that community and having that support system to not just be a high-rise building, but you want other buildings to come up as you are, because then you have better partnerships and you can make bridges in the sky instead of, keeping it on the ground level. And so I think investing in other people and giving opportunities for them to get involved and doing unconventional things, like taking something out of left field like Fantastic Four. I didn't hear of anyone that did it other than me in my area. And so I said, I have a unique opportunity to take over the theater, invite a bunch of people, and if nobody shows up, then it'll just be me eating a lot of popcorn. But at the core of it, it's something that I've loved growing up. I loved Marvel movies. I love the creative voice behind them. I like the enthusiasm that people bring to it. And if you can unite a bunch of people, assemble a group of Avengers to get amped up and then hopefully take on something bigger after that movie, then the movie's just a gateway and an introduction to something bigger that maybe they didn't think was there before, or they're part of different communities, but now they're finding that there's something that they can combat together.
So I'm going to take a risk here as an interviewer. You want this to be, positive and uplifting. Did anybody show?
Oh, a lot of yeah, we
Okay.
had a huge turnout at the theater. Yeah, I was biting my nails, I think, up until then, because you have tickets selling, and you let people know and you get the word out up until then. But I think people not filling out that form and not letting you know, like there's a lot of people that the night before, that's when I got the biggest surge of like, I'm going, I'm going, I'm going. Um, so yes, it was successful. It was
Yeah,
good.
that's definitely something that we've realized over at the center is that for a lot of events, people don't really tell you that they're going to be there until like the last minute,
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. And was the movie any good?
Oh, it was terrific. It was I think the best Fantastic Four out of the ones that have been out. It's it's a perfect blend kind of that cosmic story with the future, City of Tomorrow vibe, along with that retro, you know, the if you look at the old comic book outfits, it's really cool seeing them incorporate those designs into what they did in this movie. So it hit three marks for me, and I think the crowd really seemed to like it. They enjoyed it too.
So where would you rank it in the Marvel pantheon of movies? Is it better than Endgame, or where does it rank for you?
So I would say it's probably along the lines. I would say it's more of a B tier movie. If you were looking at like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or I'd say maybe Infinity War even, like it's on Infinity War is like a B to A tier, right? I'd say this movie, the action and the anticipation that built up to it, it's like they could have put two movies ahead of it and had Galactus be the big bad villain. But the amount of expedition and the amount of fast tracking that they did to get the story so far along to where it was at. Um, it took they built a whole world in like 2 hours, which I thought was very impressive. It was a lot of work, and I think that's why it ranks so high. It was a joyride, but it was also deep and kind of human.
All right. So, maybe if all this other stuff that you're working on doesn't, pan out for you, you can become a movie reviewer. So that'd be a good
Yeah.
alternate. Bringing it back to education, I see you got your Cal State Fullerton shirt on. You work at Cal State Fullerton right now, right?
So I work on a few different projects with the College of Business. I don't actually work there. This is one of the deans gave me this shirt, and
Oh,
I,
cool.
just a cool. Whenever I do a CSUF thing, I like to throw it on. It's comfy too. But I'm doing some research there with the College of Business, and then I'm looking in the next year. I'd like to do like a part-time lecturer. So when I'm done with that MBA, I'd like to help the marketing department kind of find new ways to engage students and kind of implement what I've been doing on the community side within that College of Business, and hopefully with the Center for Entrepreneurship, with the Sales Leadership Center, those other centers, uniting them and getting us on a path to grow the school and expand our reach. I think that's something I really want to see done.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the center has or has made into a really high priority over the years is that whole community part of it. We got mentors, we got guest speakers, we have a bunch of events,
Mhm.
and sticking with education for a moment. So you majored in marketing. You want to become a professor in the future. You're helping out with a bunch of different campus organizations and centers. You're
Mhm.
getting your MBA right now, so that takes some time, right? Um, so were there any specific courses or professors or experiences that you've had at Cal State Fullerton that's really had a big impact on you? And what kind of impact did that have?
Oh wow. I would take you through a day of going to Fullerton, and I think each part of that day spread over the course of 4 years. If you could look at the rush hour traffic to get there, that taught me a lot because
It's
it taught
bad.
me how, yeah, it
Yep.
taught me how to pack a bag. It taught me how to bring my best self to a place after I've, you know, been able to maneuver between traffic for 2 hours. There was a lot of lessons there, and the phone calls, the running late to class. I think there were so many adventures there that taught me things. Um, Showing up to campus every day, and I'd see carrot outfit guy, and I'd see Tuffy randomly in the lawn, and people with protests going on. That would teach me a lot, and it'd teach me so much about what's going on in the community outside of our campus. Um, then when we get to that classroom, I was never a guy to just sit in the back of the room and be quiet. Some days there were, but for the most part, the professors and the students that I'd talk to, I was always that guy that would come in with pizza from an event, or I'd come in with cookies, or I'd have stickers from something that I went to, and I'd just say, hey, these are guys like me who we're all just here to progress and get ahead. And so why not kind of spread that love? And I would go to the professors too. Like they would take some time and say hi, and we'd chat a little bit before and after class, and I made sure to make those relationships good with them. And a lot of them today, like Ellen Kim, she's one of the marketing professors. She's phenomenal, and she kind of showed me some of the inner workings of what she does with business. And then while she was getting started as a professor, she was like, "Hey, I'm finding my footing with this. How is this landing with you?" So we could kind of use each other as a soundboard and figure that out. I had a lot of professors that were that way, like Mark Peru, Catherine Congleton, and having that influence with the College of Business and the honors program. I had a lot of variety with the professors I would talk to. So I'd say whether it was great or if it was very constructive feedback, I would always walk away with a friend or kind of knowing what I was going to hit next, but then not knowing where I'd end up next because there was so much going on campus, like the events, the concerts, the Taco Tuesdays. Like I would never really know what the plan was until someone would pitch something, or I'd just say, okay, I'm going to the gym. And then that ride home, I'd have this great adventure that 40,000 students come to get their own unique adventure every day, and I'd just drive home thinking like, wow, like I just got to have a great day here, and I got a few things to build on, and I can't wait for that 91 the next day.
You're
So
you're always so positive. We definitely would not have been friends. There's absolutely no way that that would have worked. I'm kidding.
we'd be friends.
So
We'd be friends.
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, if I gave you
So
some pizza.
all right, okay. Well then, in that case, we'd be best friends.
Yeah.
Did you take any entrepreneurship classes?
I did. So I'd say I took the marketing like entrepreneurship class. It was with Scott Sorrell.
Okay.
I am a Sorrell survivor. So that was one way I got into the Center for Entrepreneurship, and then also through the fast pitch. I'm sure we're going to talk about that later too, but
Well,
that was
hey,
my
you
other
know what? You
background.
brought it up. Let's talk about it right now. So back all the way back in 2023, that was, almost 3 years ago now, I'm sorry, almost 2 years ago now, when you came in fourth place. T Tell me a little bit about that. What was your experience like, and do you have any lessons that have stuck with you from that?
Yeah, so I got the introduction even to this program or to the fast pitch through Sorrell's class. And he is one of the top champions for the Center for Entrepreneurship because he wants to see students engaging and getting outside of their shell. And I think there's a little bit of intimidation. He is Mr. Charge higher prices. And so naturally with that comes a little bit more of a demand to produce high quality work and to show up every day, looking good, feeling good. And at the time, I was very split. I was doing student government. I was doing a lot of other clubs. I was in the sales center. I was traveling to Hawaii and Nashville and all these different places for the sales center. And Sorrell didn't like that I was going and doing these things. And then he put out the fast pitch and he says, "Hey, this is an opportunity for students. I want everyone to apply and see if they can get in." Everyone did. And then I made it to the finals past my first pitch. And he heard about that. And he's like, you like all the things you're doing, you're gonna work this into your schedule. And he's like, all right, let's help you be successful. Let's hop on a call. Let's talk about it. And a lot of it was with my other mentors, and a lot of it was with him prepping and getting my ideas ready because it was a Sketchy Places app that I was pitching. It was basically geolocation based sketch prompts. So when you're out sketching in the world, you can remember the places you went to and what inspired you when you were there. And so that's still in development, but um, at that time, getting that pitch ready amidst everything else, like it was between sales competitions. And then with Sorrell's workload, he was like, "How are you gonna do this?" And I was like, "Well, like I'm gonna show up. If I'm just positive and if I can get them excited about my concept, then I won in my sense. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about, looking prestigious or, of course you want to look really cool doing it, but I was able to make some really great connections off of that, and I was able to be a mentor for uh, Professor Benin's class. He has the other entrepreneurship class. I was able to take students through my product and have them do research on it. So it kind of came full circle with that getting started and giving the pitch, not really knowing exactly what I was pitching, to working with students to flesh it out to now bring it to the world. Without that high pressure and without that intensity behind it, I don't think I would have been able to propel it and get it to where it's at now.
Well, and what people may or may not know, I mean, you came in fourth place, so you won millions of dollars, right?
Oh, million. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
own all of Fullerton now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, obviously. I mean, if you got, a few million dollars, you could buy the whole city. No, what is it? Is it like 500 or $1,000 scholarship, and then also a residency at the incubator along with some other mentor opportunities?
That's correct. Yeah. So the $1,000 that was cool. Again, the money I reinvested it into something else. I think I ended up putting it into crypto and it it worked. And then the mentorship that you spoke of with Phillip Stinis, he was a huge mentor in my life. That introduction with him, having weekly calls, that stress that I mentioned and that high pressure, like having an influence like him in my life during a period like that, because I was like I was the equivalent of a car that had gone past its mileage that needed a service, but it was just being held together with duct tape. And instead of an oil change, I was putting Mountain Dew in the radiator, and I was just hoping that it would go through.
I mean, that should
And
work, right?
yeah, it held together. Yeah, it was like by the end of it, I was pedaling it like a Flintstones car. You know, it was just
Right. Yeah, you just not you knock out the floorboard and you're running along the 91. So all is
yeah,
good.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was I was used to running it anyways, so I was like, why not? But Philip, he was a huge influence that way because he understood and he asked the questions. It was more than just the product, and it was more than just the idea that was being incubated, but he understood that the founder was kind of the ground level for spawning an idea and seeing that that was successful. Because depending on your habits and depending on how you were living, how you were eating, how you were sleeping, like that would determine the success of your ability to bring something into the world. Because you could make it happen, but then if you burn out and then your product's complete, but you can't back it through the marketing stage, that was really his core thing. Was I want to show you the different stages of when you have to push and when not to. It's like the gym. Like this is what recovery looks like. This is what, that warm up looks like, and then here's the real workout. And so he taught me how to be a warrior and how to kind of fight for those ideas, and also showed me some really good resources for books and some external like knowledge that I didn't really know existed until I met him.
Yeah, you're going to a gym. You got to eat right. You got to get rest. You got to take your supplements, your creatine,
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
whey protein.
Hmm.
Probably peptides, maybe steroids too. Depending on how jacked you want to get. Um,
Ah, yeah.
one of the things I've noticed, from talking with you right now is mentorship. Those connections. We already talked about community earlier, but something that I don't see a lot in students,
Mhm.
especially students, is um, that ability or that need to really go and find mentors to help them. Uh, why
Mhm.
why why are you different? Why do you seek out mentors to help you?
Mhm. I seek out mentors because there's a lot that I don't know about the current landscape of the world. And I acknowledge that when you're fighting for things at in a college level, and however much money I'm making and kind of the people that I'm talking to, if I were to surround myself with only 20-year-olds, then that would be fine. And I think it's necessary to understand certain things like social nuances and what's trendy and what's hip. But I think if you speak to people who have been through it and they've experienced the heartache and the success, and they're at a place maybe not where they exactly want to be, but they've worked through enough things to understand who they are. I think that life experience is super valuable. And it doesn't necessarily come from someone who's built an empire or somebody who's, extremely well to do. Though I do have people like that in my corner, and it's like having Batman on your Justice League. You're like, I'm so happy you're here. Like it's cool. But I think there are people who, even people who are younger than me, who are just champions for change, that are just so unrelenting, and they want a vision to happen so bad that, whether it's as an actor or it's as a fitness coach, or, one of my friends is a dentist, and he kind of got burned by the student government system, but he's still trying. Like he still wants to make an impact. And I hear that weight in his voice, and I hear that like life experience, and I'm like, wow, like there's no way you're 20 years old, dude. Like you've had you got some years on you, in that sense. Like you've really tried to make things happen. So I think for me, it's that exposure to those different ideas and that different pursuit of passion that just keeps me excited about what could come next. And it shows me opportunities to things that kind of didn't know existed, or it could mutate some of those ideas to help them come along. And that collaborative element, making sure that it's not like people confuse independence for strength, when independence is also like a synonym for isolation. Like it can really quickly become an isolated experience, and when you're not subject to anybody else or someone who understands, that's when you fall into a darker part of life, and it's harder to get out of it than it is to get into it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So you got a lot going on. I mean, Scott Sorrell, he was, asking you how you're going to fit in the Titan Fast pitch, the finals.
Mhm.
So how do you go about deciding what to focus your efforts on?
Oh goodness. My best friend is Google Calendar, as far as the scheduling of all that goes. And what I do is I segment my time. I try to look at key themes of things that are going on, whether they're opportunities or they're threats, like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And I say what can survive in the current climate and the atmosphere, and then what is going to be emerging when that atmosphere changes. And so if it's video, if it's media, if it's acrylic painting, I think for Halloween, like I have most of my Halloween content done that's going to be posted in October. But that's because I got an artistic kick, you know, late July. And I was like, there's enough opportunity to do all my Halloween stuff early. So when that rolls around, October is going to be prepping for this other month. And so a lot of it's kind of this like weird domino rollout effect where if you feel the spark of passion, but it doesn't match the current season, it's how can I use that for a future plan rather than trying to fit in, which a lot of people try to fit in and they try to be hip and they try to be, you know, one of the boys. But I say if you can just like remove yourself or it's not saying you don't go to the party, but it's saying go to the party, but excuse yourself a little earlier, or go to the party but bring your laptop and do some planning or some work. It's kind of just knowing yourself enough to not let yourself be subdued by whatever's currently going on, being able to use that foresight.
So, great answer. Looking forward, what's the big plan? What kind of future projects do you have in your docket that you're looking forward to? What excites you about the future?
Ooh, I'd say the biggest thing is there are a lot of brands that I've been admiring since I was a kid, and I think my 20s is the biggest payoff for me in my 10s. And like the 10s was the biggest payoff for me in my ones because you can do all these things that your past self couldn't. And so I'm starting to work with brands like Adobe and Pokemon and Disney doing like some activation things for them. And I think my inner child is just coming out and it's exciting to be on the same floor as these people and to share the space and to be invited in with my craft to say, hey, like we want to see what you got. Um, I think that's the thing is there's a lot of activation events that I don't know where those are gonna go necessarily too, but I think to embrace those and to say, what can I do that can be synonymous to that? Um, or taking an opportunity and making that an octopus. Like there are 8 tentacles to that. And if I can identify the 8 tentacles and the 8 ways that can expand, then now you can make an ecosystem out of an opportunity. And so most of the things like the Halloween stuff, even that, like I don't know how that's going to mutate or evolve. I could hit a mood where I say, "Man, I have 31 new ideas and I want to scrap all that." And I want to make something new. But I think it's also looking and saying, "I have another year next year if I take care of myself, if I eat right, if I sleep right, like I can take full advantage of that season and make it a winning season if I take care of myself along the way." Instead of making it like this is the Halloween to remember or this is my, this will be the Christmas. It's like, no, like I don't know what's going to come of the season, but the season's going to come in and teach me a lesson and and it might be a kind one or it might rock my boat a little bit. Like I think it's planning as best as I can. Um and I know and I think that's what excites me shockingly enough is like not knowing what the challenge is going to look like. Because if I knew exactly what life was going to look like or what the weather was going to be tomorrow, then I would have a premeditated outfit and I'd know exactly how to show up. But if you look at it, like going back to Marvel, like Thor Ragnarok, the reason we love that movie so much is like you take Thor, that's this classic guy, and by the end of it, he has no hammer, he has no hair, and he can zap people with thunder and lightning, and he can fly and do everything that he could do before, just it's him. And so I think those seasons are like a death and a rebirth if you let them be. And not trying to be too biblical about it or too crazy, but just looking at it as an opportunity to grow and to change and to embrace however life is gonna, take our story.
Yeah, it's very Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. You know, you have to face demons or monsters or whatever dragons, and you have to figure out how to win, and then you come back to where you started from, right?
It's true. Yeah.
So
It's
this has all been great. Final question for you, Michael. What advice do you give to students?
ooh. Advice on what?
Just in general. I mean, this is one of those wonderful open-ended questions. You could take it however you want. It could be, advice specifically to more entrepreneurial-minded students.
Okay.
How should they go about their academic career? What should they be focusing on after they graduate? Uh, However you want to take it.
I would say if you can identify whatever your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats are early on, and if you can acknowledge them as much as possible and face the danger and face whatever you're passionate about and identify how you target those things and how you can make those successful with the things that you're strong at or the things that you're weak at. Why are you weak at them? If you can find the ways that you go about doing things and just flip the script and say, I will now be strong at my weaknesses and I will be weak at my strengths now. And I want to know what that feels like. I think try to test yourself in as many different environments and as many different opportunities as you can, knowing that some of them you will fail and you'll be rejected and you will be put off by people that, some people will say you're just not worth my time. And I've had a huge slew of those experiences, and I can say that a lot of those have been a blessing in disguise because if I would have stopped there and I would have taken those opportunities, then I wouldn't have gotten to the point where I'm at now, being able to work with so many different amazing people and see these opportunities and to be planning as far ahead as I am. So my biggest advice would be don't fit in, like fit in when you can, but also make things that stand out. Like go bring your own element to it. Be the guy that dances at the party when no one else is dancing. Be the guy that brings a trident to Chili's, like why not? Like life is too short to be too conventional, but also make sure that you respect the rules and the framework that you're playing in. If Cal State Fullerton has a zero tolerance for Poseidon tridents, then don't bring a trident to campus, but then say, hey, maybe a boat can park here, if not a trident. So there's always room for it. You just have to find the space and make the time for the conversation. And I'm
Very,
excited to
very,
see what you guys do.
very good. Yeah, we'll have to check and see if Cal State Fullerton is a trident-free zone. I'm not sure. I doubt that they've considered that, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
something to bring up, right?
What is the school with the tridents? I think it's UC San Diego or one of them. One of them has. They're not
I
a rival to us. They're not. Yeah.
I forget. Well, there's no school that's a rival to Cal State Fullerton. It's a Titan. It stands alone. All right,
Yeah.
Michael. Well, thank you very much for this interview. Great job. And where can people find out more about you?
Yeah. So if you're looking on LinkedIn, it's Michael the Mollusk. And then if you look on Instagram, it's Mike the Mollusk. So it's all together Mollusk. And so mollusk is like the octopus. So when you find me on there, I can't wait to see how we can connect and you're gonna see a lot of madness. So
Very good. And I'll put that information in the description. And once again, thank you very much, Michael.
of course, thank you, Travis. Thank you for having me.